Okay, basically I'm going to show you how I actually did this pleated skirt. Okay, I marked them inch by inch by inch, so I'll show you how I did that. My friend Carol up in Canada, she suggested that I use parchment paper because she was watching me do a couple videos and I was just using regular copy paper, the bond paper, and she suggested parchment. To try parchment, it's a lot easier to use. Plus you're able to see right through the parchment to make copies of your patterns, and you're able to keep your patterns nice so that you can keep reusing them without having to ruin them by cutting them up. And so far I like it. It works really well for me. So anyway, I took this pattern and I copied it off of the real pattern, and that's how I came up with this first skirt that I made. That's actually, these pleats are actually this pleat. Okay, but I'm not going to do that on this fabric. I'm going to show you how I did this skirt, because this is just increments of 1 inch throughout the whole thing. So I took a piece of regular material. This is probably, I don't know, maybe 40 inches. You don't need that much. But depending on your dolls, it's easier to cut off fabric, but or you can add fabric as you need to. But if you start with enough fabric, you don't have to worry about having to add an additional piece of fabric and put a seam in there. Not that it matters, because you know you can have a seam and nobody would ever see it in this skirt anyway. Okay, so how I started was, I don't know if you've ever heard of this. This is called a sew line pencil. It is actually a fabric pencil that allows you to write directly on your fabrics. And the lead can come off either with your eraser up here, or you can use a damp cloth and wipe it off, or first time you put it in the wash machine, it disappears. They're not cheap. They're like, I don't know, $14, $15, but they're definitely worth it. And they come with different color leads too. You can get them in white and yellow leads in case you're working on dark fabrics. But I love it. I use it all the time. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I did this skirt. I started with about probably 4.5 inches. That's basically, yeah, this is a little bit over 4.5 inches. That seems to be a nice length for my doll, so that's what I cut. So I'm going to leave myself a little bit on the edge for a turn-in. So I'm going to give myself about an inch. It doesn't matter. Maybe I'll give myself 1.5 inches in case, because I can always trim it down. Okay, so I'm just going to start making little marks at 1 inch increments. Okay, if you don't have a little ruler like this, you can use that parchment paper or your white paper and just make your own marks so you have that. And then that's how I started making this. And basically all I did was I lined up all of my marks on the back. So in this one I made it inverted. So from the front I marked up, I marked those two and put a pin in it. Okay, then I lined up this one to the center piece. Line that up. Why does that look so big? I'm in the wrong row. Here's one. Here's my mark. Okay. So that's my first pleat. Okay. So pleat number 1. I'm going to just continue. I'm going to take my next mark and I'm going to line that up. And put a pin in it. Okay, and now this one comes to the front. Check my marks. Okay, put a pin in it. And you're just going to continue along the whole way, and then once you get all your pins in it, you're just going to put a sew line on it. If you want to sew down, you can. I sewed down on this one about 2 1/4 inches, and that's how I got that look on this skirt. So that's basically how you're going to make a pleated skirt. They're very simple. I was surprised how simple they were. I thought they'd be a lot harder than they actually are. A lot of the websites I went to, they said that the ironing board is the pleater's favorite, best tool, best friend. But I did all this without actually using the iron. I did iron a few pieces. I did iron these pleats after I finished sewing them to get them to lay flat. But I didn't use the iron to pleat every single pleat. I just didn't. But if it helps you to use that, then that's great. You know, go ahead and do that. But I didn't. Okay, as far as the actual blouse on the cheerleader outfit, I didn't want sleeves, so what I did is I just used the pattern as it was, and what I did is I used my parchment paper, and I went under and I made copies of the cheerleading outfit. So this was and I didn't want it as long as it was, so I put my parchment paper underneath, and I knew all of these 18-inch doll patterns are way too big for my doll, so I knew I was going to have to cut it down. So what I did was I don't know if you can see here, but this was the original cheer pattern, and the first thing I did is I just took this 1/4 inch from the fold line and I moved in, and I thought, okay, I'll try that because that'll take away 1/4 inch around the front, and I also went in a little bit on the neck area, and that was my first attempt at cheer. And then on the back, to cut the back down, I put my parchment paper underneath it, and I traced it, and I also I knew I cut where it says the hemline to make it shorter, and that was my bottom seam, my bottom line. And then on this one, I did the same thing. I cut off a little bit around the neck area, and I took the fold line and I sort of just folded it in 1/4 inch on itself, and I thought, okay, so I'm losing 1/4 inch here twice, so that's 1/2 inch, and I'm losing probably another 1/2 inch in the front area. So I figured, okay, 1 inch, that might be good enough. Total, 1 inch would be good enough for the doll when I make the doll top. And it wasn't. It's still too big. So I've made the pattern again, and I've cut it off. I've cut it down even further to do the charger blouse. And this one, when I cut it down again, I cut it quite a bit down because this pink one is just too big. I mean, it's cute, but it's just too big for what I want. So then I cut it down again even more to see if I have the right fit on the charger outfit. So that's where I'm at on that. As far as the front here, I just followed this. I didn't follow the pattern. The pattern was for diamond, but you can do any design you want on the front. It doesn't even have to be stripes. It could be anything you want. You could have two tones. You can actually make the bottom half a completely different color and put stripes straight across it, like a jersey or anything. You can do anything you want. As far as a logo, I wanted. This isn't what I'm going to use, but I tried to find a lightning bolt, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to try to use my glitter, and I liked the look of it, but it didn't it's not exactly what I wanted. It didn't work well around the edges because you can't get a really smooth edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to under all 3 layers, and then I'm probably going to embroider around the outside in dark thread to actually get my logo. One thing about using team logos like this, you can do it for your own personal use, and there's no problem with it. But as soon as you start trying to sell it to make personal gain on any kind of team logo or any kind of copyright, then you can get in trouble for doing that. But there's no stopping you from doing it for your own benefit or to give as gifts. But they can get you if you try to make money on using somebody else's copyrighted material. Anyway, this was another blouse I wanted to make with this outfit. This is a Berta pattern, and I put a little collar on that with little hearts down the center, and I thought that was real cute. Anyway, that's where I'm at, and I will come back and show you how I, once I get the charger outfit done, I'll show you the completed final project. Okay, I'll talk to you later.